Now, the first speaker of the evening neither needs nor gets an introduction. Because if you look at it, it's me. And if you guys aren't sick of me yet, then go for the door. That's shame on you. I want to talk to you a little bit about, how to build a resume. Or more specifically, how I built mine. There's a lot in everybody's resume that's pretty much similar. You know, I graduated from Twin Falls High School and went to the University of this and the college of that and have a certificate in this or a diploma in that. And that's a great part of the story. But that doesn't tell you everything that we've got. The better part of the story for all of us is, I'm married, I've got 2 great kids. That's hard to beat. But everybody should kind of put that on their resume as well. What I want to tell you about is an odd corner of my resume. And this is a story, and like almost all really good stories, this one starts with a girl. Not me, I don't look that good in the skirt. The year is 1994, and I'm unmarried, and I've just moved to Philadelphia. I don't have a clue how I'm going to get into the city, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to get involved. And you know, that's pretty normal for a relatively young guy in a big city like that. Well, with a little bit of good luck, a personal ad, and a blind date, I got to start dating a girl who was really excited about Philadelphia. She was new there as well, and she wanted to do everything. She wanted to be involved in all of it. She wanted to be in the middle of it. She wanted to explore. And hey, that was great. And we hadn't actually been dating for very long before she showed me an ad. And this was for improv comedy classes put on by a group called Comedy Sports. And Comedy Sports is an improv group that presents comedy as kind of a competitive sporting event. That's their shtick. And they're really good. Well, I have to admit, I had never thought about doing improv comedy or acting of any kind. I mean, my acting ability ended with a 7th grade play for Mrs. Kissler. But they're a good group. And the classes actually took place at a place called the Arts Bank. The Arts Bank was a reclaimed bank that they turned into just a beautiful art center. It was only 2 blocks from where I lived in Center City, Philadelphia. So, okay, why not? That seems like a great thing to do. So not really having any expectations, on Monday night, I showed up. Wow, there are a lot of people. And we started, and it was wonderful. We did that every Monday night. It's hard to look forward to Monday night, but I really did. We did that every Monday night for about 10 or 12 weeks. And you learned how improv works. You learned what you were going to do. You played the games. And it was a blast. And everybody in the class loved it. So I want to give you guys a little bit of Improv 101. Now, in improv, when you've seen it, everything really truly is made up. Everything that I've ever been a part of in that is. Now, there may be suggestions, for this scene you're a fisherman, or this scene takes place in the laundromat, but the dialogue and the specifics are all new. They're all truly made up on the spot. It's not rehearsed. And your job is, with your castmates, is to build a world, and to inhabit that world, and to see what happens when you're there. And you can imagine, if I start on stage, I'm peering off into the distance, and one of my castmates comes over and says, "Oh, Captain, that's a new parrot you got there." Okay, now, Captain, okay, so I'm on a ship, it's a parrot, so I've got to be a pirate. Maybe I'll do the peg leg thing. And now what I'm staring at is probably the enemy ships. Or maybe it's the island where I'm going to try to bury treasure. But now I'm starting to see what that world is. And all I knew was a minute ago, I was just staring into the distance. I might say, "Oh yeah, the last one got blown off by a cannonball yesterday. Smitty, get the launch ready." And now we're working together, and we've started to get this world together, and what happens next is based on what we do. That's Improv 101, and you can tailor it with a lot of suggestions. Well, getting back to the classes, we did that for 10 or 12 weeks, and loved it. But you get to the end, and it's over. Well, the over part didn't last very long because the teachers enjoyed it, so they set up an advanced class. And I jumped at it. Now, here's the disclaimer. My girlfriend had a job that took her out of town, so she only made about half of the classes. which was too bad. So she didn't want to do the advanced class. But I did. And so we get to the advanced class and show up. It's mostly the same people. And it was awesome. And we had 10 or 12 weeks or more and learning, getting deeper into this as it advances. And it was wonderful. And then it ended. And then the comedy sports people made us an offer. They said, we always need new players, so we're going to set you guys up as our minor league. And we'll keep training you, and then if we need to bring somebody up, then now we have a reservoir of people. And we thought, oh great, yeah, we can do that. And that only lasted for maybe 3 weeks. Because Mike Young, the guy who was running comedy sports, came to us and said, you guys are invested in this, and you've done it, and you're good at it. At some point, you need to do this not because it's a class, but you need to do this. Wow, that's a lot. So we kind of went our separate ways briefly, and then Ben, one of our guys, called and said, we need to get together. We need to get our group back together. We met at a pub, a little place called Doc Watson's in Center City, Philadelphia, and sat there and decided that, Philly's got 4 million people in it. There's enough room for another improv troupe here. Let's go. Okay. So we committed. It was kind of the Three Musketeers moment, all for one and one for all. Yay. But we realized that there were a couple things we needed. Well, we needed a place to rehearse, and we needed a name. The place to rehearse turned out to be a little tiny community building in the center of a park in Center City, Philadelphia. And we could only get in there late at night after the park was deserted. So it was a little dingy building, and it was fine. We were there late at night, and we rehearsed, and it was tremendous. We needed a name. Well, you can imagine with a bunch of folks with different ideas, we came up with a large list of different names. And some of them that I remember, Ben proposed the Acme Fun Factory, which I always thought was a really cool name. My idea was the Next Line Players, because in improv, you're always wondering what the next line is. And somebody said the Center City Comedy Theater, or the Philadelphia Comedy Theater. Okay, none of those worked. So, and even with this big list, nothing was right there. So we started mashing them together, and somebody, and I really truly don't know who it was, said, how about the Next Line Comedy Theater? That's it. It clicked. We're there, it's us. So we started rehearsing, and it became really clear pretty quickly 2 things. Number one, we could do this. We had chemistry, we had some ability between us, if you spin it just right, and we had a lot of fun. But second, we needed more people. Because it's, not everybody can make it to every show. So we did auditions. We put an ad out and got a great response. Do you want to do improv comedy? New troupe forming. And we did the auditions and we selected a bunch of folks. And we took it. Kevin, you have the slide. So I'm going to introduce you to these guys. Let's start with the big guy in the green in the back. That is Dalen. Dalen's a lawyer. And Dalen was so good at giving bad advice and character that we actually had to rename one of the games from Good, Bad, Worst Advice to Good, Bad, Worst Dalen Advice. He was gifted at being sort of that obnoxious guy. Very good. Next to him in the class is Tony. Tony's a comic book artist. He wrote a comic book called The Jersey Devil. Next to him is Daniel, who's also a lawyer. In the black is Judy. Judy had a lot of jobs. In the red, kind of below where Judy is, that's Mitch. Mitch was an engineer, and Mitch's right hand is on Steve's shoulder. Steve's in the white. Steve's an IT guy, an electrical engineer, computer guy. In the aqua, that's Marjorie. Marjorie was a little bit older than the rest of us, and she was kind of the den mother. She was the voice of reason and conscience, and she just kind of took care of us. And she was very, very talented at improv. Down below Marjorie in the black, that's Min. Min was an actress, which meant, yes, she did work as a secretary in Philadelphia, too. But had a shot, had a little bit of idea what the business was, and at least at the time I left Philadelphia, she had not yet made it big. Beneath Min, this is Ben. Ben was also in the comic book industry, hence the Superman shirt. And Ben was kind of the heart and soul of what we did. Because he was the guy who was always smiling and always ready to jump in and, yeah, let's go. And then Next to Ben in the beige, with slightly less gray in his hair, is me. And then over my shoulder is Kevin. And Kevin is one of the guys that we got in auditions. Kevin is, to this day, had one of the most nimble, funny minds I've ever run across. One of the first scenes that I ever did with Kevin on stage, we were talking about opposites. And somehow agnosticism got thrown out. And I countered with polytheism. And very much in character, Kevin puts his hands on his hips and says, polytheism is no more the opposite of agnosticism than a knock on bacon is the opposite of corn. Now you pretty much know how Kevin's mind works. So anyway, in the center, that's Sweetie. That's all I've got. That's the only name that we ever had for her. Couldn't tell you what she did for a living. Couldn't tell you where in Philadelphia that she lived. But I can tell you that she was always eager to be in the middle of it, and she was a wonderful improviser, and she was a great person to have around. And I guess everybody needs a little mystery. Sweetie was kind of the mystery that we had. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the biggest gold stars. And he did well. You know, I did perform with him for about a year. And then I moved back here. They kept going for 7 or 8 years after that. And some of the membership changed and where they performed changed. But that was it. That's the next one in comedy theater. Improv taught me a lot. And there are 3 lessons that I'd like to pass on to you guys. Excuse me. 3 lessons that I'd like to pass on. You remember in Improv 101, we talked about building that world. Well, building that world is always taking what you are offered from your castmate and building on that. And the phrase that we use is yes and. So, in one of our first scenes, we did what's called an open scene, which a lot of people didn't, frankly, have the guts to do, where there are no rules, there are no suggestions, you just start. And Steve goes on stage, squats down, 2 guys on stage, nothing beyond that. Judging from those tracks, they're about 2 hours ahead of us. And now Daniel, who's the other guy on stage, knows, okay, this is Old West somewhere, and we're trying to catch somebody. We're lawmen, probably. And he's got all sorts of choices. Well, we go to the shortcut, we can beat him to town. Or even, it's a good thing we got motorcycles and they have horses, or something like that. But everything he says has to be yes. That's what you said, and here's how it goes. Yes, and we're going to build this. The thing you're not allowed to say is no. No, those aren't tracks. What do you do? So it's got to be yes, and. And I think that works in real life. I really do. It doesn't mean the answer to every question is yes. But everybody in here has been in a conversation where, okay, the ideas are going, and we've got rhythm. Okay, yeah, we can do that. No. And it just absolutely stops everything cold. Don't let that be your default. Your default is yes and run that way. Second thing, nobody ever came to watch the next line of comedy theater to see Marjorie or to see me or to see Ben. They came to see us. Because when you're on stage, especially from my standpoint in improv, you have to trust everybody that you're working with. And they have to trust you. If you don't have a cast that's good, not only are they going to wreck it for you, they're going to wreck it for them, they're going to wreck it for the whole show. You have to have a good cast around you. So, and if you don't, you're hosted. Just frankly, that's it. In my real life, I have a cast around me professionally that's fantastic. It matters. So number 1 is yes and. Number 2, get the right cast around you. Last thing is if you remember just talking about the bios, this was not a group of actors. This was not a group of comedians. This was a group of people, engineers and a doctor and Kevin Nesman, the Nanaka guy, is a nuclear engineer. Get out on the limb. Get way out on the limb. Sometimes the best fruit is way, way, way out on that limb. And sometimes the limb's going to break. it's not necessarily that bad a thing. You know, we performed every Saturday night at the Abraham Theater in Philadelphia in a space that was much smaller than this. We did a show once for 4 people. A packed house for us was about 75, and we did some of those too. But hey, it's okay. Number one is yes and no. Number two, get the right cast around you. Number three, don't be afraid to get out on that one. Now I want to close with 2 quick stories. Our signature game for the Next Line Comedy Theater was called The Next Line. And when you walked in, came into the Abraham Theater, you get an index card, or several, and we asked you to write a line of dialogue on that card. And then we collect those, and we put them out on a table in front of everybody. So it was very clear that nobody was messing with it. Nothing was being rehearsed. And then usually in the second half of the show, we start a scene, and we take some of those cards and we put them in our pocket. And as you go, you have to take out one of the cards, and that's your next line of dialogue, which gives you things like, hey, Bill, hold the elevator for me. Oh, yeah, Ted, I've got it. Thanks. Hey, Ted, did you know that Campbell's soup is good? And then you have to figure out what that is. At one point, somebody slipped me a blank card, and I really don't have anything to say. But that was our game. That was our signature. And the way that improv works is creative thievery. So somebody will see what you did, or you see what somebody else did, and then you modify it, and you make that show, and then you use it. And then they'll do the same thing. Well, after I had been back in Twin Falls for a couple of years, I was watching television, watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? A show that I just loved, especially early on. And Drew Carey says, hey, we got a new game for you guys. We call it Whose Line? And out came the index cards. Somebody, somewhere, couldn't tell you where, somebody saw us. And somebody saw them. And somebody saw them. And I couldn't tell you how many steps it took. Excuse me, I still get shivers up and down my spine with this. But what we did made it. So my biggest gold star, excuse me, my biggest gold star in improv happened in a studio that I wasn't in a city that I wasn't in, after I was no longer performing. But something that we did as a group made it to Whose Line Is It Anyway? That was pretty cool. Then the end of the story, like I said, this story starts with a girl. Everybody wants to know what happened. For me, it's a happy ending because I married her. You'll probably have to ask Anna about the rest of it. Thank you.